I've been exhibiting at the Jackson County Fair for 46 years now. We moved to town 47 years ago, and by the next summer, I was exhibiting. Everything gets me excited about exhibiting at the Jackson County Fair. It is the highlight of the summer for me. It is so much more fun to go to the fair if you are exhibiting. You have a vested interest in what's happening. You really care about other people's exhibits. You want to see how everybody's doing. You want to see if the person who exhibited last year exhibited again this year. It's colorful. It involves all ages and everything. Three areas at the Jackson County Fair. I exhibit in antiques, of which I'm the superintendent. I exhibit in photography and also in knitting. In years past, I exhibited in baking and in crafts and in sewing, but those first three are really my favorites now that I've stayed with all these years. The first really fun memory that pops into my mind is that when our children were little, we used to bring them to the fair on check-in day with us, and we would have a picnic after Mom had dropped off all of her entries at the fair. And I was entering in baking, so I would always bring extra baking with me because those cookies might get dropped, something might get smashed, something, there might be a problem, so I always had to have extras along. So we would have a picnic and have all of the extra baked goods that Mom did enter at the fair as part of our picnic. And the picnic was in the evergreens outside the extension office. I don't know how many people still remember that evergreen grove, but it was a wonderful place to sit down with a blanket and kids and have a picnic with leftover baked goods. Other really good memories, well, of course, when you win a big prize, especially if you didn't expect it, that's always a real special memory. And I remember the first time that I entered anything in antiques. I was in tears by the time the judge was done judging my antiques because he had said such lovely things about a particular item that had belonged to my very, very poor immigrant grandparents. And I sat there and listened to the judging and cried because I was so touched. Because it makes the fair so much more fun. You really want to exhibit. It's not just coming for the rides. It's not just coming for the grandstand show. It's coming to see what your friends and neighbors in other parts of the county are doing. And at the same time that you're seeing what they're doing, you're hearing their stories about exhibiting. So, for example, you can have some lovely antiques packed away in a box in your home, and nobody ever hears the story, nobody ever sees it, it's not out on display. But if you take it to the fair, then you're telling people about that item and where it came from, what the history of it is, and so forth. You have a chance to give it its moment to shine. I can't tell you what the Jackson County Fair means to me. It's just such a big part of my summer. The whole family knows that it's important to Mom. They've always known it. As I said, we started exhibiting the first year that we moved to town, and it's just been a mainstay of the summer for me. I look at the fairgrounds every time I drive by and I think 5 more months, 3 more months, 2 more months. Been lucky enough to receive a few best of shows. Not many, but a few. The first one was for a quilt that belonged to my husband's grandmother in antiques. Another one was for a photograph that I took when I was visiting in Israel one year and received Best of Show on that. And the competition in photography is immense. So to receive a Best of Show in photography was just the pinnacle for me. And another really exciting one was the year that I received Best of Show for my whole wheat bread. And this is what the judge said. She'd given me the blue ribbon for the whole wheat bread, and then when she was ready to give the Best of Show, she said, "I feel that anyone who can make a good loaf of whole wheat bread can probably bake just about anything." And she gave me the Best of Show. Those were my 3 major achievements. Well, as a superintendent in antiques, I receive a lot of questions from people who are first-time exhibitors or who are uncertain about what category something goes into. So I have a lot of people who call me directly, and that seems to work very, very well. I understand that the phone numbers are out there in the fair book and the website, and I would encourage you to call your superintendent, because the superintendent can give you the lowdown on perhaps what category you should be entering something in. And they're more than happy to do it, because the superintendents are thrilled to get more and more people involved in the fair. One thing that I would like to remind people is that you can plan for the Jackson County Fair all year long. You can be working on those craft projects. You can be trying out a new pattern. You can be deciding what you're going to plant in your garden in the spring. It's not something that you just start thinking about in June or July. It's something that you should be thinking about all year long as you get ideas for what you might like to make or bring or bake for the Jackson County Fair. And then you can use that time in the months before the fair to practice baking those items, or to go up in the attic and look for those antiques, or to plant the kind of flowers you want to plant. So really preparing for the Jackson County Fair, not just for the fair board, but for the exhibitors too, it can be an all-year process. When I grew up with the county fair in the state of Iowa, I had the feeling that it was just for 4-H, and that it was just for kids to come and ride the rides. And those were the main goals and the main excitement of the fair. Now I understand, after having exhibited for so many years, I understand that you may be the youngest child, or you may be in your 90s, you may even be beyond. As long as you have the interest in bringing things to the fair, and look at that fair book, or go online and study online and find out what some of the options are, there are things that will appeal to you about exhibiting for the fair. It's not just for kids. And as a matter of fact, in antiques, my goodness, we have people that go well into their 90s who bring antiques every single year. And I know it's the highlight of the year for them and the highlight of their summer. We also have had several young people who have brought antiques, and maybe grandma or their aunt or their mother has helped them to learn about the antique, the family history and so forth, and the child very proudly brings that antique to display. So we've had people in the last 30 years, we've had people from probably age 8 or 9 up in well into their